Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monk Chat on Fridays. And today we have with me, to my right, Ayavada, and to my left, Ajan Ved, and myself, Bante Sumita. And welcome to all of you. And as we are getting ready for the Monk Chat on Fridays, we would also like to welcome all of you who are online. Don't see many people live. Jerry Serge Segas Jr., Meta from GA. And also we have a wonderful live audience here. So welcome all of you. Um, Maria Iron, Ira M.
It's Maria backwards, sí, Vente.
Oh, wow. Maria and, back and forth Maria. Okay. Mary um, and Bhumika Agnani. Okay. So we are waiting for your questions, and maybe until they post a question, maybe if you have a question, can start.
It might be the shortest monk chat in history, Vente.
Yeah. Lily has a question.
Okay. Lily asks, how does the seven enlightenment factors fall into the Four Noble Truths?
So, well, it could be under the fourth noble truth, right? Um, so, seven enlightenment factors, Satta Bojjhangas, are, are the Sati, Dhammavicaya, Viriya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi, Upekha. And Sati definitely is part of Samma Sati, right mindfulness. And then Dhamma Vichaya is the investigation of the Dhamma. That can be also part of Samma Ditti. And then we can also say Virya as Samavayama. That is right effort. There are four kinds of efforts. And then Piti is the rapture. Of course, it is part of the jhanas we have when we practice Samma Samadhi. We have the jhanas. And then Samadhi, of course, Samma Samadhi, right mind, right concentration. And then Upekha is also part of the fourth jhana. Um, Passaddhi is the what you call tranquility, bodily and mental tranquility also is part of the Samma Samadhi. So I hope I answered the question. So you can find a way, in this for jhanas and also the Noble Eightfold Path, and even the Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahant, they can all be Four Noble Truths, they can all be interrelated, even the dependent origination. Um, I think there is nothing in Buddha Dhamma that can be excluded from the Four Noble Truths. That is the bigger basket. So all the Dhammas can be uh, inside the Four Noble Truths. Okay. Do you want to add something, relevant?
It's beautiful.
Okay. We'll go to the next question.
Okay, this one is from Alex and asks, how to counteract having no interest in anything in life?
The John Wade.
let's see, how to counteract having no interest in anything in life. And I would assume that trying to understand the question, the full scope of the question, that perhaps the person who's posed this is also thinking that nibbana is also not, they don't feel any interest in nibbana either. And so they don't feel any interest towards anything in either samsara or in nibbana. And I think perhaps one way to address this is to contemplate the negative aspects of abhava tanha, that is the
Vibhavatan.
vibhava, sorry, vibhava tanha, the desire to not take action or experience results. And this can be quite easily seen, that if we have a desire to not take action and not take results, as kind of a uniform desire, disinterest in doing anything, an aversion to doing anything, that will experience many negative consequences in life. Experience this as a source of, if we contemplate this to the extent that we experience it as a source of suffering, and if we contemplate the advantages of skillful action, contemplate the advantages of skillful action in terms of the pleasure we'll experience. This can be motivational. Sometimes to understand this, we'll have to actually attend to pleasure and attend to suffering when we experience them. So when we experience pleasure, then there isn't the desire to not experience. When we experience suffering, sometimes we may experience the desire to not experience anything, even the desire towards annihilation, to be annihilated, to not exist even. So in order to understand pleasure and the positive consequences of skillful action, we have to attend to pleasure at times when we experience it, notice it, and then we can contemplate the skillful actions that lead to real, lasting pleasure, and therefore be motivated by it. So it isn't that we should be interested in everything, and we shouldn't necessarily be interested in every kind of action, but be discerning in what kinds of actions lead to the kinds of consequences we want over the long run. This is another aspect of it, that we have to look at what is to our in our long-term interests, bringing us pleasure and helping us to avoid suffering. Another aspect of this actually is also that oftentimes we'll find that if we're attentive to the suffering and pleasure of other beings, and if we can contemplate that other beings will experience consequences of our actions and of our inaction, and if we contemplate that if we can help other beings to experience pleasure, to be happy, and to be relieved of suffering, that this also will feel very good for us. And if we can experiment with this, see how, if we go beyond ourselves and invest invest in the happiness of others to some extent, that this will bring a good feeling to us. And this will be motivational as well. And within Buddhism, we have many recommendations from the Buddha and the masters about what is skillful action and what is unskillful action. And so 3 of the most commonly taught are the practice of generosity, practice of ethical living, and the practice of meditation. And so these are 3 that you can try and experiment with, or remember times you've done them in the past, and consider the good feeling that arises when you remember what you've done in the past that was skillful. And attending to pleasure, find motivation in that.
Thank you. We have another question by Victor Waters.
Okay, Victor says, what is the original meaning of the word Buddha? Well, it's related to the root for waking up, and I think actually I don't know of any English words that have this root, but there are other languages that like the word for alarm clock in Russian actually is related, which is random. But so the word is related to waking up, and the in the time of the Buddha, it also seems to especially mean not necessarily from sleep, but specifically waking up in the sense that when we talk about like someone woke up to the truth, so it also has the meaning of understanding, right? I believe Bande Bhakti Buddhati is to wake up from sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the word for to wake up, you could say Buddha is the verb is buddhati, but in Pali they don't actually say that when someone wakes up from sleep. There's a different word which is related, but it's bhakti buddhati, right? So buddhati or to wake up in this sense, yeah, it has the meaning of like to understand. So it means both to wake up, but especially in the sense of waking up from delusion, understanding things. So Buddha is the person who has woken up, or the person who has understood things. So it means like the awakened one or the enlightened one.
Yeah, Buddha is to understand, and also remember that name is a title, and it's not a name. It's not a name given by his parents or anyone else, by the teachers or anyone. Buddha is the one who has realized one, enlightened one. And also there are Samma Sambuddhas, Pacheka Buddhas, and also Arahanta Buddhas. So they could also be realized ones, enlightened ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Manal Vyas also say hello to all the monks. We have another question from Amit Bhai.
Okay, Amit says that they develop loving kindness but can't do it more than a few minutes verbally. How do we develop this further?
Hmm. Um, is it my turn? Okay. So loving kindness, if you can do it for a few minutes, um, it's not only verbally, it's also mentally. In every action, it should be an invariable part of your life, inseparable part, indispensable part of your life. So every time you think, you say, you do some action, you should reflect that loving kindness. I would say like it's such an amazingly powerful practice. You don't have to like say all the time, "May I be well, may you be well, may all of you be well." It's not only that physical, verbal action, but it's in your overall, complete overall behavior. You should reflect your loving kindness. It's a really tremendously powerful action. Um, so maybe if you want to say something like chanting, like Karaniya Metta Sutta, the discourse of loving kindness, it's fine to read louder. But other than that, you can practice. Even right here by sitting here, I could send loving kindness to all of you who are online right here. We can even for a fraction of a second, we can do that, and I can send loving kindness to all the wonderful venerables here, and also our wonderful live audience, also seen, unseen, sentient beings. I think this practice of metta can you keep awake all the time because there will be nothing when it comes to loving kindness that you can separate, so you can find always someone or something to send loving kindness, send metta to all the children in the world, to all the elders in the world, to all the parents in the world, to all the mothers, fathers, and the children, and the brothers, sisters, and You know, people in the neighborhood, people in the county, people in the country, people in the world and beyond, seen, unseen, skybound, earthbound, waterbound, short, long, strong, weak, uh, everyone. So there are unconditional, immeasurable, innumerable sentient beings, and also like direction wise, like north, south, west, east, and then up and down, and also northwest and northeast and southwest and southeast, and all directions you can send loving kindness. You continue to practice loving kindness. Remember to start with yourself. Practice loving kindness towards yourself first, and then slowly expand that powerful territory of loving kindness to all sentient beings. Okay. Halu says also, Anjali. We have another question from NGBK. NJBK.
Hey, they ask that they're curious about the differences between Thai forest and Sri Lankan traditions. Aren't they both Theravadan? What's the distinction?
Janved is a strong Thai forest meditation practitioner.
Bhante, but I'm not very familiar with Sinhalese Buddhism to say, so I'm not really sure how to answer.
Yeah, what we can say is we are both Theravada traditions, right?
Yes. I think, let's see. I wonder if maybe if we talk a little bit about some of the salient hallmarks of Buddhism from different countries and see how they compare that way. I can learn about Sinhalese Buddhism. Um, well, one of the hallmarks of the Thai forest tradition. Well, the Thai forest tradition is, as it's called in the West, is known in Thailand as the lineage of Ajahn Mun, or the disciples of Ajahn Mun. The kind of widely regarded as the father of the modern forest practice in Thailand. And so even that is one very specific strain. And so the differences between it and and other forms of other lineages within Thailand. The emphasis of the Thai forest tradition was strict Vinaya practice and ascetic practices and meditation practice. Um, and so the monks would live in wilderness areas, and a large portion of the day was given over to solitary meditation practice, as well as some periods of group meditation practice as well. With the teachers trying to teach the students based on their own personal experience in meditation and the practice, usually is the main source of instruction. So maybe that's something as a summary, as I understand of the practice.
Yeah, I think regarding Sri Lankan Buddhism or Thai Theravada, all Buddhist countries, so far as the Theravada is concerned, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, even in India, some part of India, and then even in Bangladesh. Um, so many countries are following Theravada Buddhism, and so we all have um, the same script and same tradition, but can be culturally different. Maybe rituals can be different depending on the local cultures, because Buddhism, every time Buddhism found a ground in some country, Buddhism was ideally merged with the local cultures. That's why it was successful in mainland China. in Japan, in Korea, wherever it went, it was ideally matching with the local culture. So when it comes to Buddhism in Sri Lanka, Buddhism was deeply rooted in Sri Lanka. It is the majority of the Sri Lankans actually follow Buddhism. And if you land in Sri Lanka, if you go to the airport, you will see a beautiful Buddha statue right at the airport waiting to greet you. And so everywhere you go in many intersections, you will see a Buddha statue, and you will see white pagodas. You will see Bodhi trees, and you will see hundreds and thousands of monks walking here and there. So that's the tradition. And then lot of monks also do a lot of social work, and they also teach in a lot of institutes. And also we have different sections, different elements in Theravada Buddhism in Sri Lanka. For example, in the urban areas, the monks have different role. You all know, like the urban areas are many, like a lot of hustle bustle. So their lifestyle is also different. And when it comes to the village areas, the rural areas, the monks are even more simpler, and like they walk a lot, and there are some temples may be bigger, or they have more nature. And then also we have the forest tradition, and they are again even more uh, closer to more practice. So more suburban and urban area monks, they are mostly catering to the demands of the people. You know, people come to the temple, they want blessing, they come to offer dana, and then they have funerals, and a lot of people have some issues, so they want to do some bodhi puja or something, and chanting when somebody is sick. So the monks even go to the hospitals and do all kinds of chaplaincy services. They do all kinds of things. And then in the villages, they mostly in the urban areas, the monks are mostly traveling by they don't drive, but they are um, driven by the people to their homes, and here and there. But monks also can um, use the public transport. In the urban suburban areas, monk can also walk in procession to houses. That's what we did when we were young samaneras. We used to actually walk a lot. And today maybe it's a little different. Forest monks mostly don't practice many of those things. They don't deal with many of those things. So they mostly focus on meditation in isolation. So all of them are playing a very crucial role for Buddhism. So we have Sunday Dhamma schools, we have full moon day programs, and we have many other like Vesak, Poson, or different special programs, and also New Year. Then Katina program during the Vasa rains retreat. We have many events to help the monks, and also we have monastic schools, over 800 monastic schools to teach those young monks. Um, Proper education system is there in Sri Lanka, and it is government sponsored. We have separate minister for Buddha Sasana, and then separate department to take care of the Sunday Dhamma schools, and they are all functioning differently, so they all help in different ways. And yeah, in different countries they have those differences, but we do have the Theravada tradition. For example, Chatta Sangha in 1956, we all had all the Theravada monks together. They were reciting, like in the Saptapanni cave, the 500 monks were chanting in the first Buddhist council, just like that. In Mandalay, Myanmar, all the Theravada senior monks, they were reciting the sixth Buddhist council. And then the Buddhist texts were written in their language, their own scripts. So right now, we are currently using that commonly agreed um, scriptures in all the Buddhist countries, in Theravada tradition. Okay? All right, let's go to the other question by Hima.
Okay, what's the difference between recollecting, reflecting, and contemplating? Okay, so, well, those are all English words, so it can be difficult to, if you're just looking for the difference between those words, then I think actually a dictionary would be much more efficient than I am. But if you're looking for maybe like counterparts to Buddhist concepts, then what I might say is that recollecting, we have the concept of like anusati. So this is like, for example, Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati, Sanghanusati, etc. So these are what we call recollections. And this is where one is essentially bringing to mind again and again a particular theme, but the same theme. So you're keeping it in mind. And this has, in Pali, this has the word sati, which means memory or recollection. And then it says anusati, which means like again and again, or in a continuous process. So following along a stream of a thought, where you're maintaining the same types of thoughts and recollections in mind. And so in this sense, recollection really means to sustain a train of thought in a particularly focused and methodical way to achieve a particular purpose, right? Usually to calm the mind, or to recollect your good deeds, or to inspire faith and confidence. So that's what recollection might be in a Buddhist sense. And then reflecting, with this I get maybe something like Sangha. So in this, the Pali word for this is like wise reflection or careful reflection, or also the power of reflection. There's something called Patisangha Bala, which means like the strength or power of reflecting. And this, we essentially use it in the meaning of reflecting on or considering our actions and our mind states in order to leverage them to develop more skillful ways of relating to the world, right? So for example, when we eat our alms food, we have a reflection. We say wisely reflecting, and the word there is Patisangha. And it's a reflection where we think, why are we doing this? So we reflect on the real purposes and the real meaning of what we're doing, right? We don't do it just to enjoy food, but we do it in order to maintain our spiritual practice and to allay painful feelings of hunger so that we can practice more efficiently. And then you can also reflect, for example, on, is this a wholesome action or is this an unwholesome action, right? Before we say something, we should be reflecting, like, is this going to be for the benefit of myself and others? Or is this going to be harmful and cause suffering to myself and others? So that's reflection, maybe we could say, is like considering the consequences of our actions and considering the reasons and purposes for why we undertake different practices. And then contemplating is a little bit difficult to maybe correlate, but sometimes people say like contemplating a particular theme might be similar to recollection, right? So this would be like thinking something over in a systematic way, not just stray thinking, right? But systematically reflecting over a topic. So that might be one way of thinking about contemplating. Another way that contemplating is sometimes used in a Buddhist sense is contemplare. Actually means like, sometimes we think about it as thinking, but it's more like observing something, originally speaking. So, or etymologically speaking. And so this can be used for like contemplation of the breath, anapanasati, right? Mindfulness of breathing. But usually when we say contemplation nowadays, people think like they're thinking about the breathing. but it's not thinking about the breath. It's actually, the reason they call it contemplation is because it means to continually observe the process, right? So contemplating in that sense might mean like mindfulness, right? Continuous mindfulness of something, whether with or without verbal thinking or thinking like processes. So maybe that's helpful, but I'm not so sure if that's what you were asking.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. So, what word in Pali do you think would correspond to? Well, let me ask this. There are two times I think of now. I've
Please
seen
speak a little louder.
when I remember the word contemplation. I think of the contemplation of the elements or the contemplation of repulsiveness of food. But I don't know what Pali terms are used.
Pachavekkana.
Pachawekana. Thank you.
Pachavekkitaba.
That one's there, yeah.
Yeah.
I know for the elements, it's dhatu manasikara.
Yes, Manasikara. Manasikaroti. And also Yoniso Manasikara, wise reflection, wise contemplation. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice reply.
Like a talking dictionary.
Yeah. You're a walking dictionary.
No.
Good.
I'm sure the book would outsmart me.
Okay, Opal has, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, has a question.
Okay, how to relieve the regret from a big lie that I have made, they say, and the long-term guilt from it. This happened before I observed Sita, and please don't judge me.
Is it my turn again?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Well, I won't judge you if you don't judge me. I think one thing we can remember is we've all done things in the past that on later reflection we feel we shouldn't have done, and this is quite a normal human experience. And experiencing regret, is also a normal human experience. And so, if we reflect on it in that way, that this is actually very normal, that can help us to feel more at ease about it. That's one way. The regret itself, I think it's a really good question in one way, in multiple ways. But one way is that regret is considered to be an unskillful emotion by Buddhist standards, in the sense that feeling regret doesn't, that emotion itself doesn't motivate us to do skillful things, to do good things in and of itself. But if we can recognize, if we can capitalize on it and realize that this is one of the consequences of unskillful behavior, then hopefully we can kind of pivot with that and say, okay, well, this is the kind of thing that I want to avoid in the future. And with our wise reflection in this way, reflecting wisely on the situation, what we can do to set ourselves up for the future is we can recognize we've done something wrong, and we can even confess. We can find someone to confess to, maybe a kalyana mitta, a beautiful friend in the Dhamma, like a teacher or another practitioner, or simply someone who will, lend a sympathetic ear and will listen. And if we open it up this way and get it off our chest, so to speak, we can feel better about it. As a first step, we also can confess even to like a Buddha image, for example. Or something like this. If we have faith in assuming, I'm saying a Buddha image and thinking perhaps you're Buddhist, but if you have faith in Jesus Christ, for example, you can confess to an image of Jesus Christ. And so something like this, if that feels more comfortable. You can do it in a relatively solemn way. So if you make an offering, say of flowers, and maybe candles and incense as well, like when we do a worship. And make if you're doing with an image, for example, and do a heartfelt confession. We actually do this as part of the standard evening worship service in Thailand. It's the standard to acknowledge faults that we've made, and so that we can behave better in the future. This is a statement we make as part of our evening worship. And this is the next step. Having opened up the kind of thing we've done in the past, we make a determination, saying, okay, now that this is behind me, and I've done this, I've opened it up, I'm going to try to do better in the future. And then so we start anew with a clean slate in this way. And this can help us let go of the situation and allay the regret as well. These are two different kinds of things: a contemplation on the normalcy of this kind of thing happening in life. We're all in the same boat. Basically, we've all done something like this. And then there's an actual process you can go through in this way to put it behind you as well.
Yeah. So remember, there is a story of one deity coming to a monk, and he saw a monk practicing in the forest. And these monks do not have many comforts like people in the village and the cities. They just live a very simple life. But this monk's face is very radiant. He looks so glittering, shining. And in they were asked, how come you don't have this many facilities? You sit under a tree, sleep in a cave or something, live a very simple life, and how come you still so bright? And then the monk said, which is very important to all of us. He said, Atitang nanu so chanti, nappa japanti nagatang, pachupannena yapenti, tena vanno pasidati. I don't regret about my past, and I don't fear about my future. I live right here, right now. That is why I am shining. Many of us are either glued to the past or to the future. We always worry about future or fear about future or worry about past. This is the problem that we have. Past is past. You can't really pull it back. You must have done many mistakes. You can't really correct it now. It's past. And remember, this is the same thing that happened actually to Angulimala. Angulimala had really trouble, uh, you know, traumatic situation when he was meditating. Imagine if you meditate and you close your eyes, you see people that he killed. It was so difficult for him. And then the Buddha said, yeah, you need to remember that it's in the past. Yeah, it was a really good example for those people who feel guilt right now or for whatever you have done in the past. And the Buddha gave a golden opportunity to all of us. If Angulimala could, Angulimala is the man who killed 999 people, and if he could become an enlightened one, all of us can. Yes. So it's a great story to motivate ourselves. So don't worry about the past. Whatever happened, happened. So from now onward, you be good, you do good, you will be fine. We don't judge you, don't worry. Okay. Next by Maria.
Yeah, this is for you, Pante. Says the online comprehensive Buddhist studies program. Which course will you be teaching? You teaching a course, Pante?
So we offer an online course for all the people who practice Buddhist studies. They can learn Buddhism, and this course is actually affiliated to Kelaniya University, Sri Lanka. Uh, the course is conducted by Right Mindfulness Training Academy in Missouri, St. Louis. So that is a really nice course. We have wonderful staff, teaching academic panel, very capable monks and nuns and lay scholars teaching there. I was teaching there for a while, few courses, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist history and culture and different courses. This time I'm also teaching one course, but unfortunately, I don't remember the exact title of the course, but something related to Buddhist history. And we are going to start soon. And the importance of this course is, if you want to do it as you really want to do it like an academic course, you can do it. So you have to attend all the classes online, and then you have to do all the assignments, and then you can also do the final exam. The attendance will also be counted. You can be a serious student to get the certificate if you want. If not, you just want to, even as just audience, you can do that too. Yeah. So there are options for people to, and also we have different levels for people to go into advanced courses as well. So thank you, Maria, for bringing this, and also I take this opportunity to inform all our friends to take a look. And if you contact me later, I can give you more information. And take a look at Dhamma USA. You will find more information too.
Bhante, this reminds me, I think I actually talked with one of your students from one of these courses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she needed to talk to a Theravada monastery or Buddhist or something like that.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
She said that she knew you in the right mindfulness course.
Nico.
Okay, Nico asks, in trying to realize selflessness, anatta, could reading Buddhist philosophical psychology be helpful? Satipatthana meditation breaks down sense of self in my actual practice, they say. Not me? Okay, well, when you say reading Buddhist philosophical psychology, if you mean the suttas, then yes, that would definitely be helpful, because there can be many different ways that people might relate to selflessness, and some of them are not so correct, or maybe not so healthy, right? And others are, maybe just a little bit misguided. So it can be helpful to read what did the Buddhist tradition and so on actually say about this. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend reading like modern psychology or modern philosophy based off of Buddhism, because it might not be so correct. It might not be accurate, because they're just people, usually not practitioners, who are kind of interpreting things. So it's best to go to the source, and also to talk to living practitioners and living Buddhist people who are within the tradition about this. So if that's what you mean by Buddhist philosophical psychology, then that would be recommended for sure. Definitely good to do that. It's good to balance theory, you could say, with practice, right? Because if you don't know what you're doing, then the practice might be very misguided. And in terms of Satipatthana meditation, you say that it helps you. That's great. Sadhu, and I hope that your meditation progresses well.
Yeah. Thank you. We have another question by Prairie.
Hey, Prairie says, after some time of Dhamma study, I thought I know a lot, but with more studying, now I think I know nothing. Is that a normal process? And they ask how to break through the uncertainty in Dhamma study.
Janved, good question for you.
Excuse me. This is interesting. I think I remember Prairie asked a question a couple of weeks ago, saying that they'd reached a point where they no longer had any interest in anything aside from Dhamma practice and study and going to monasteries, and asked, "Is that normal? And what should I do?" And so Sing's question reminds me of that one. I think we all had a good chuckle, the monks, because for us it's quite normal. And what should I do? And so, well, I think one aspect of this is that that we need to find a proper balance in our own experience with the guidance of someone who is experienced in balancing out study and practice. So that with practice, we can come to truly understand what it is we've studied and, and apply it and see how it turns out and this sort of thing. Yeah, so there's a teaching in the suttas, that you have to actually practice to really understand the Dhamma. And Ajahn Chah had a saying about this. He says, if you want to know what an apple tastes like, then you have to take a bite out of it, and that's how you find out. And I think that's how we really come to understand the profound meaning of the suttas and other studies that we do. And the studies and the learning from our teachers and from the books and so on, of course, informs our practice. So we learn how to practice. And the practice helps us understand the Dhamma on a deeper level and sort out these kinds of things.
In Myanmar, there are some monks who have learned the entire Tipitaka by heart, 55 volumes. It's taller than you. Learning by heart is so hard. Only very few monks are there. They are called Tipitaka monks. And also, I think in Sri Lanka, we had few monks who could do that. And if you keep learning, that the Dhamma itself will take lifelong. Pariyatti is one part, and Patipatti is another part. So learning is very helpful. It's very useful, important, and also practice can be even more helpful. Like in Dhammapada, there is one stanza, the Buddha saying, if you know a lot and don't practice, you are like a cowherd and you don't get any fruit. Only your Lord will have all the benefits. So even if you know a little, you practice, you become the landlord. So you become the Lord of the many. So I think don't worry about don't feel like guilty or something. To be honest, even I feel sometimes, what do I know? I need to learn so much and I don't know anything. Something I also sometimes I feel. But then again, we need to start from, little bit. Like every single step we learn, we have to be positive. And as the Buddha summarized the entire Buddha Dhamma, Sabba Papa Sakaranang, don't do anything wrong, you know. And Kusala Sopasampada, do all the good things. And Sachitta Pariyodapanam, purify your mind. Etang Buddhana Sasana, this is the teaching of all the Buddhas. And if you take this thing alone, whole life you can practice. You probably don't want to learn all the what is Abhidhamma, what is the Majjhima Nikaya, what is all the suttas there. You probably not need. Their teachings are actually right here. So practice and pariyatti, patipatti, we need to, of course, balance a little bit. Whatever you know, please practice. And also keep learning. Listen to Dhamma and also associating with Kalyana, with the friends, and being, having that confidence and faith in the path can help you more. Okay. All right. We have normal sky. What do you call door?
Dower, maybe, I'm not sure.
Okay. Norma Sky Dover. So, yeah.
Asks, where does the mind go when the brain gets Alzheimer's, dementia, or a TBI?
Do you know anything about that?
I don't think I can say I do. I could maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe all I would say is that I don't know if I don't know if I would say maybe Bante and Ajahn have different ideas. I don't know if I would say that the mind is going somewhere else. It's more that like obviously the mind is affected when someone has Alzheimer's. It's not just a physical thing, and it has impacts on the mind. Um, and I think it's important to recognize that, right? When the Buddha talks about the mind, he doesn't make like a strong division between like the mind is something completely separate from the body, right? Because it's very obvious, right? If we run into a desk, it hurts and we feel the pain in the mind. So the body clearly has a relationship. And so I think that if the brain, I wouldn't say the mind goes anywhere, but maybe you're wondering like, well, if someone has developed their mind so much and then their brain gets Alzheimer's, does that mean that their development is wasted? Maybe that's part of the question. I wonder. Um, and this was something maybe again I don't know how much I can say. Also, I don't have any of these things, so it's hard to talk about them without really knowing what it might be like. But we were um, relating to some people with some brain illnesses and so on recently, and talking about some also monks who had gotten Alzheimer's. We were talking about a monk named Gosananda, who apparently he had dementia or Alzheimer's, and they said he was always smiling. He couldn't speak, but he was always smiling. And there was another story I remember about Ajahn Chah, apparently, who started losing his faculty to actually produce speech. Like many people will get this in life, where maybe in their mind they have a very clear idea, but when they try to speak, it just comes out all messed up. And apparently, this is what I was told, and maybe also Ajahn has some corrections, or is that when Ajahn Chah did this, he would say something, it would be very nonsensical, and then he would laugh about it, like it was very funny, and it wasn't a serious thing, it was just a body kind of getting a little messed up, trying to put the words together with thoughts. But apparently, what I've heard is that other people were very disturbed by this. They were very disturbed that Ajahn Chah was saying things like his speech was not coherent when he was getting sick, because maybe they were afraid, like, oh no, what if he's not, what if he's lost his wisdom or something? Whereas I think the wisdom was actually that Ajahn Chah wasn't bothered, right? Most people, it's very traumatic when you try to speak and it doesn't come out right. So it's almost like the lesson that I kind of learned from these things was that the illnesses might be affecting the mind and they might be affecting the body, but it almost seems like the wise practitioners who have these things, the difference is like they don't get upset about it. Their mind remains unaffected, in terms of like aversion and greed, hatred, and delusion. So even though the mind might be kind of messed up in the sense of a little bit jumbled and muddy, but it seems that they maintain that clarity about the situation, and they seem to maintain their joy and their letting go. That's just from observing, and hearing anecdotes and so on, and different people who I've had exposure to who don't have that, and they seem to have a lot of resistance. And it seems like that's a big part of the battle for them. So I wonder if that's maybe part of it, but that's just, again, speculation.
Do you know what stands for TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
Traumatic brain
Injury.
injury. Oh,
Like
okay.
Serious concussion.
Oh, okay. I remember one time I went to the hospital. Somebody was, in his last few moments of his life. And I was just praying for that person. I was chanting. And then I saw that person's, he can't move anything, And I saw the tears rolling. So you probably won't be able to physically maybe even open your eyes, but you are still mentally open, active, awake. So these things can happen to sometime, like for example, when you're in coma, people's consciousness is pretty awake. You don't know, your body is not, as Venerable mentioned, the body is not working properly, but the more consciousness is working. And so it's not going anywhere, it's there. But it's hard for us to maybe communicate with them. Like sometimes the animals, when they, for example, in their dying days, they also don't know how to communicate. But maybe through some constant practice, maybe like continuous communication. The one who is actually taking care of it probably could understand some of the body languages. And so there are people like that too. Alzheimer's, dementia, where you actually lose your memory, right? You don't remember. Who are you? They will ask all those people. And yeah, the consciousness still there. And it is the maybe the coordination between the mind and the body that is not properly working. Yeah, this is part of the life. So yeah, I think it's important that we need to remember that life is such. Sometimes even those, as Venerable mentioned, like Ajahn Chah is such a well reputed, such a wonderful monk. How come? Sometimes people say good people have. Why all the bad things happen to good people? Yeah, this thing can happen to anyone. It's part of the karmic conditions too. It's not only this birth, this existence, that we are related to many numerous lifetimes. Right? Okay, so let's go to the question by Flower.
Hey, Flower says, fear could be the root of many things: procrastination, cowardice, even violence, and fear is not easily controlled for arising. From Buddhist perspective, what is the cause of fear and how to cope?
Ajahn Ved, that's a good question.
What is the cause for the arising of fear and how to cope with it when it arises? Well, it can be. You look at this question from different angles, I think, and what skill, how the skillful way to look at it, what way to look at it is skillful. Again, it depends on your situation in life, but look at it in a kind of at the deepest level by Buddhist standards. The arisal of any of the kilesas is due to ignorance. And so, in practical terms, in the present, what that means is that when the mind has a sensory experience, if it is clouded by delusion, then the delusion is a condition for, with that sensory experience, the heart giving rise to either liking or disliking, or otherwise translated as greed and aversion. These are very broad categories, and fear falls into the category of aversion or disliking, some translate. And then this can, part of the problem with it is that this can further bias our perception of the situation. So that then as we continue perceiving the sensory experience or having a sensory experience, it can actually look more and more frightening. For example, we can even start perceiving things that aren't really there, and start projecting into the future, for example, and worrying even more, et cetera, and can kind of snowball. And so, if we can, to the extent that we can dispel, delusion from the mind with the practice of mindfulness, then we can short circuit this whole process, because it's the cloud of delusion in the mind is a necessary condition for the arisal of fear. And mindfulness, it dispels the delusion, so we see things clearly as they really are. And this keeps the heart from initiating fear. When I talk about seeing things as they really are, this is about how the heart experiences its sensory contact, the sensory world. And when the heart is clouded by delusion, then it misperceives that which is impermanent as being permanent, and that which is actually suffering or unsatisfactory as being satisfactory, or being pleasant even, and that which is not really us and ours as being us and ours. And this can apply to many things in a situation going on. For example, if we're afraid of being harmed, it may be because part of it may be that we could talk about this in the sense of that we identify with the body being us and ours, for example, or considering the body, experiencing the body as being permanent, when in fact the body was always subject to being harmed, or even falling ill or something like this. So you can see how this, if you contemplate it, this plays out in many different ways. But the heart basically is misperceiving a sensory experience, initiating emotions and attaching to what's going on, getting very emotionally involved with it. And so to the extent that we can initiate mindfulness and keep our mindfulness, then we can short circuit that process, either before it even arises or in the process itself. And this can take this can take practice. It takes practice. And so it's good to have a regular meditation practice. It's good also to observe precepts, to live an ethical lifestyle. This can help us as a foundation for meditation. And practicing generosity brings joy to the heart, and this affects our outlook on life as well. Another specific meditation practice that could be good for this, if we find that we're subject to fear frequently, is loving kindness meditation also. This isn't the same as the kind of practicing loving kindness isn't the same as practicing clear knowing in the present we normally associate with mindfulness that dispels delusion. But it can change the kind of the personality of the heart immediately by making us feel happier. But over time also, so we're less likely to perceive things as being negative, have a more balanced mindset towards things. So those are two answers from kind of a meditation point of view within Buddhism.
Yeah, I remember Dhammapada. There are few stanzas that is directly related to fear. Tanhaya jayati soko, tanhaya jayati bhayang, tanhaya vippamutassa natti soko kuto bhayang. So when you have tanha means craving, right? So due to craving, you have soka or sorrow. And tanhaya jayati bhayang, due to craving, you have fear. When you have a lot of things, you always are scared of losing it, right? And so tanha vipamutta. So when you don't have tanha or craving, nati soko kuto bhayam. No sorrow. Where do you get any fear? So no sorrow, no fear when you have no craving. And same thing with the Dhammapada. It says, Pemato jayati soko, pemato jayati bhayang, pemato vipamuttas natti soko kuto bhayang. So pema. What is the better word for pema? It's
Dear ones, or
yeah, okay.
maybe affection, or love.
Yeah, affection, love, romantic, whatever, these things also can cause you sorrow and also fear. When you don't have it, no fear, no sorrow. Piyato jayati soko, piyato jayati bhayang, piyato vippamuttassa natti soko kuto bhayang. Fear also, I think, is almost like that, like the present ones, near and dear ones. When you have that, you also have, like the parents are very scared of their children, for example, right? You loved ones, you're always scared. And that also causes you worry. When you don't have that, you don't have, that is the root cause. See, it is mostly related to our attachment. The more you are attached to something or someone, the more you suffer, the more you fear, right? So we need to think of the root cause, as Ajahn Ved mentioned. Okay. Ami Nichols says Anjali to everyone, and Hima has another question.
Okay, they're saying that nowadays in society, being very nice to people, especially strangers, usually means being looked down by them and seen as no confidence. How to balance between loving kindness and being confident?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to answer?
Oh, well, yeah, I think that it's important to distinguish kind of a, maybe what we call like, when you go to someone's house and at the door, they have like a very polite doormat that says like welcome, and it's with flowers, right? And everyone, whenever they go in the house, they feel very welcome to just walk all over the doormat, right? Because it's very polite and welcoming. But no one is afraid of that, right? No one feels any kind of barrier or boundary, right? And so we have this phrase in English, at least, of like a doormat is a kind of a person who they don't have any confidence, and other people just they overpower them, right? And so I think part of the idea is that we have a concept of being polite and being kind and being loving, but a lot of times that is kind of mixed in with a cultural idea of just letting people do whatever, mostly, letting people kind of manipulate the situation, right? So sometimes we let our kindness be infected by that, right? But for example, the Buddha, we would say, had perfect loving kindness and perfect compassion, but he was very confident, right? We get the idea that the depiction of the Buddha is not someone who is kind of letting people do whatever they want. He's very confident, but he's very loving and compassionate. And you can maybe think of other examples of people you might know, or teachers in the past, recent history, who maybe they were very loving, very kind, but sometimes very confident, right? Sometimes, for example, someone might be very loving, but they might scold someone. Right? They might scold a student, or you can think of a parent who maybe they love their child so much that they punish them in some way, but not out of anger, right? There's some types of punishment out of anger, but they might punish them in order to help them, right? And so I think the best way to distinguish maybe is to meditate on loving kindness and develop the feeling of loving kindness, and try to distinguish that from just societal politeness, like or societal courtesy, where you kind of allow people the space to do as they please. So maybe using your loving kindness practice to develop an inner sense of loving kindness, and kind of try to distinguish that from politeness. I don't know if that might be helpful to feel the difference in your own experience, right? What does it feel like just to be polite versus to have loving kindness? And then try to bring that loving kindness in, for example, with your equanimity, with your right speech, with your confidence, right? Try to integrate them in your life and see how they interact. I think a lot of this is experiential. It really has to be kind of weeded out, the difference that we might perceive between being very courteous and polite versus being very loving but being very self-confident. So it's not, I don't know if it's the easiest way to maybe verbally distinguish them. I recommend you practice with it and try to see, but maybe that's just my lack of a good explanation. I don't know if the other venerables have advice on this, don't they? Or...
Yeah, I think what's more important is, if you are nice, don't worry about other people. You be nice. No matter what the other people say or do, it doesn't really matter. If you expect, oh, they should respect me, they should also be nice, that's something, you are building your own ego. Don't worry about whatever. You be confident. I am nice. I know what I do, and that's fine. You need, this is part of your lacking confidence. So just be confident, that's okay. Doesn't matter really what the other people say or do. It doesn't really matter. It's not your karma. If you judge, if the other people judge, it doesn't really matter. You be nice. That's good. That's always good. Be very nice. Yeah, it's part of our practice. Yeah, always be nice to everyone and everything.
I wonder if I might add a little bit, Bhante. Something just occurred to me is that you may also want to consider who you associate with. And there are people who respect loving kindness. There are people who worship loving kindness. And so if you can try to associate with them at least part of the time, that may help as well. I think that, yeah. You want to try to be independent, your own self-confidence, be independent of other people's opinions. But it also can be heartening to be amongst good people who respect those kinds of qualities as well. So.
Thank you. We have, I think, maybe we can show this. J Bowen is helping one word here for alarm clock.
This is the Russian word for alarm
Russian.
clock is budilnik.
Okay, thank you so much.
So,
Budilinik?
maybe the alarm clock will help Jay.
Nice. Okay. Then we have Alex.
Oh. Alex asks, does sharing merit reduce our own merit?
Yeah, whose turn is
But, seems like you haven't.
We invite you.
Maybe I'm just
that?
skipping.
Okay, so there is a beautiful simile actually. Um, when you um, when you light an oil lamp, you know, you use one oil lamp to kindle another. So what happens? Like you have another oil lamp and you use another. So the light will not be reduced. In fact, with the help of other oil lamp, you will grow more. You will become brighter more. And also, um, when you share merits, means you are giving merit. What happens when you give? You gain more. This is patti pattanumodana. And when you transfer merit to others, don't ever fear or worry that your merit bank is going to be low. You will definitely have more credit score in your merit bank. So, yeah, never fear, never hesitate to transfer merit or share merits with everyone. In our Buddhist community, we have a habit of asking people to touch, everyone touch when you want to offer something. So that means you are sharing the merit. Sharing the merit will always be, become more multiplied the more you share with others. If you do it alone, the power of merit may be little less, but if you share it, that is a teamwork, that's more powerful. Yeah, I think.
I think you dispelled their fear, Bante.
Right. Okay, and Lydia also says Anjali to everyone.
Hey,
And Julie has a question.
looks like this might be good for you, Bante. She asks, what advice would you give for meditators visiting Sri Lanka for a retreat? There seems to be a lot of jungle and wildlife out there. Even the living quarters seem very different.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I think there might be a continuation here. She says, are there advantages for monks to practice? Oh, wait, maybe this is actually different. Okay, I think this might be
Uh,
a different question, I wonder.
okay.
Sorry.
Well, if you visit Sri Lanka, there are meditation um, centers, very famous meditation centers that you can practice. Recently, I actually visited Sri Lanka. I found the longest Chankamana walking path, and that's like thousands of years old. A beautiful, I think, monastery. Yeah, you see a long walk in, and also I saw like caves and original rock caves, and where the monks were sitting. Very simple kuti for the monks inside the cave. So even in the middle of the day when it is really hot inside the cave, it is so cool. And so there are places for you to meditate. If you want to go see some places like the Bodhi tree in Anuradhapura and some of those places where you can practice, you really can. For example, the huge stupa, what we call Ruanvali Saya, Ratanamali Chaitya, is a huge pagoda, like maybe 300 feet something tall. You can imagine. And when you sit there and look at the beautiful space, and you can sit for hours meditating by just looking at the dome, and also you are opening up all your fears and worries, to the sky, releasing, and you feel so released, and you can meditate. And then under the Bodhi tree, I found it's a very different experience. And when a lot of people actually keep chanting and keep meditating, that place becomes already a very special place, very powerful place. And there are a lot of places like Tooth Relic Temple and other places. And also, if you want to practice in the wilderness, there are safe and wonderful meditation centers in Sri Lanka. And yeah, I recommend you take a look and you can find a place. All the monks and all the nuns and the other people to practice. Remember one thing, yes, jungle, wildlife, yes, we have. So we have to be part of that. You can really, get rid of all of them and practice. You might see snakes, you might see elephants, and but you have to live with it. I lived most of my life there, and I didn't have any snake bite or any elephant attack or something. Yeah, I mean, when we keep practicing, we have to coexist, peacefully coexist with all of them. And you respect them, they will respect you. If you harm them, they will also, um, in return, try to damage. They will feel when you are in attacking mode, and when you are practicing loving kindness, most of the time, the monks in the forest and other people, practitioners, they don't have any problem. Yeah. So, um, what would you give for meditators visiting Sri Lanka for a retreat? So, first look at the retreat centers. We have some centers. If you want to go for a 10 days retreat, there are like some centers you can contact. You can, first of all, you need to make sure that you have, that you need to book a place and communicate with them. And also practicing loving kindness can be very helpful. And then the other thing is practicing chanting Khanda Parita. Chanting Kanda Parita is also very helpful because it is said when you are living in the forest, all the people who practice in the forest, Kanda Parita is a good one, where you actually send loving kindness to all the different kinds of animals. Yeah, it's really helpful. Okay. And we have a name in Myanmar. We don't understand we don't read Myanmar, but also saying Anjali to all of us. Another question from Julie.
Okay, Julie's continuing. Are there advantages for monks to practice in the forest compared to the urban areas? It seems more difficult in the forest with less comforts against the natural elements.
Yeah, should I continue? Um,
Please continue.
so there are ups and downs, like some people who are so used to urban life, they find maybe forest difficult. It can be boring for you. You stay in the jungle, nobody to talk to or something, then you will feel bored. But there could be some people who see that the nature is so amazing, so peaceful, and you might really enjoy. Like in the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, Ramaniyani aranyani yattana ramati jano vita raga ramesanti nate kama gavesino. And those beautiful, enchanting forest, wilderness, that people feel scared to go, and those people who have been dispassionate, they would love to stay there and practice. So yeah, I mean, it depends on if you are interested in practice in the wilderness, in the forest. There are beautiful places. I've seen some really nice places. When I went there, I wanted to go more, stay more, longer there because that amazing places over there. We could see the elephants going, for example, and we could see other wild animals, walking, but you can safely practice. There are places who can practice, and also in the forest meditation centers, they are mostly secure, and you can practice. And the advantage in forest meditation centers is they are less distractive. If you want to be distracted by maybe a lot of people, if you have, then you will be distracted, and you need to have that peaceful atmosphere, um, where you can really find some isolation and secluded practice with the capable teachers. That is, I think, the balance. Benefits of practicing in the forest. So at least for a while, you should try. Okay. NJBK.
Okay, so this is a thank you. They said that they've been reading the suttas and they recently learned that Theravada has different styles of living practice. Very interesting to compare traditions with the suttas.
Okay. Nico.
Okay, and then they also ask, Nicholas, someone else asks, the story about the shiny monk, what is the sutta?
I think, what is the sutta? It is in Sangyutta Nikaya, I know. Devata Sangyutta. So I don't really remember the sutta name, but I remember the gatha. I could probably, you could probably type the gatha like Atitang Nanu So Chanti Nappajapanti Nagatang Pachupannena Yapenti Tena Vanno Pasidati. You can see the sutta there. Yeah. Sangyutta Nikaya, I know. NJBK.
Okay, they ask, so, I think this is just a comment. They're just saying they found this sutta interesting here about I am now an outcast and my livelihood is now dependent on others. And this one is
Asanta Gunasekara.
he asks, Bhante, is silent illumination or objectless meditation in the EBT, the early Buddhist texts, or is it a later technique?
Janved?
Well, I'm not familiar with what is meant by this meditation technique or this terminology. I'm not familiar with the terminology, so I don't know what to say.
Is it Aloka Sanya? Animitta?
Yes, I think that's what Bhante Sudaso, he's talked about this before.
Do you want to explain a little bit?
Okay. Well, actually, you should look at the video on this channel. I think Bhante Sudaso has given maybe a talk on this in the past. But Bhante Sudaso, silent illumination is a meditation from the Chan tradition, Mo Zhao Chan. So silence, Mo Zhao, illumination. And it's a meditation. Well, it's kind of a practice that's essentially of like awareness without focusing on a particular sensory object, like the breath, for example, but of just open awareness while letting go. The practice is to try to let go of all objects. And Bhante Sudaso feels that this is represented in the suttas by the name Animitta Samadhi, like that this is what that practice is for. And in the suttas, I believe that this is defined as like sabbanimittanang manasikara or something. So like non-attention to all signs or non-attention to all features. So like essentially withdrawing attention, the practice described there is one of withdrawing attention from all features of all objects or kind of characteristics that the mind might latch onto. And so yes, that's at least one opinion on the matter.
So it's more to do with Zen Buddhism?
Yes, yeah, this is a Zen. This specific word is a Chinese Zen
Right.
word.
I wonder if I may ask, how does this? Is there a distinction between that, which you're the nimitta that you're referring to? I don't know. I don't remember the full Pali phrase, and the term for nibbana, of sileness concentration.
Oh, this is the same.
It's totally-
Animita is the same word
It's
used.
the same
as,
word. Okay. So I thought that was used in the Pali to refer to.
Silent illumination is that aloka sanya?
This is
Loka
actually
kasina?
no. This is actually a Chinese phrase
Ah.
for like a type of meditation.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually kind of it says illumination, but it's actually not light. It's a little bit misleading.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Meredith Eventide also says Anjali to all. And maybe we are almost running out of time. Maybe one or two questions to finish. Manal Vyas Mehta.
Okay, Mama asks what is the difference between Bante and Ajahn?
Ah, yes. Easy question.
Oh, actually, I'm not sure. So, yes. So, yeah, assuming you mean in modern usage, so we refer to Bhante Sumita as Bhante, and for example, refer to me as Ajahn Wade. I think I've heard that it is not actually traditional in Sri Lanka to refer to monks as Bhante. Is that true?
Yeah,
I don't know.
because in Sri Lanka it is the singular word. Like Ajan, we say Hamuduru, Swami Nuhansa. But Bhante is a Pali word that is addressed for venerables, monks in general. So all the monks can be addressed as Bhante. And in the suttas, we find the Buddha, like a senior monk or the Buddha, is addressed as Bhante. When Buddha asks someone also the Bhante, they would reply. So Bhante is a Pali word to address the monks. So essentially, commonly now, in the Theravada world or internationally, you can, if you don't know the names of those long names or different names in Pali, you just say Bhante. That's it, easier. And Ajan also has something to do with Acharya, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. It's not only monks, even for lay people, they can use Ajan.
Yes, for university professors also.
Yeah. I've seen some Ajan ladies. Yeah. So Ajan is a Thai word. Bhante is a Pali word. Okay. You want to take up one more question?
Okay, sure, Bante, we can ask one more. This is that's actually kind of a really big question. Maybe we should do an easier one.
Okay.
Only in 2 minutes. About Pali.
Right. You want this one or?
Whichever you prefer, Bante.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. That's a
Okay, they say, could you please explain this phrase "vinyanang anidasanam"? Could we say that this refers to mind without any disturbances?
Anyone wants to say something?
This is a question about the meaning of a Pali phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mind without any disturbances.
Well, maybe I wonder, Bante, there's actually, I know of an essay about this phrase, which is maybe you could read it. I think it's by a bhikkhu named Bhikkhu Sunyo. You could probably just look up like Vinyanang Anidasanang Bhikkhu Sunyo. And it's essentially an analysis of the Pali and many suttas. So it's kind of a technical thing for the Pali nerds out there, which maybe John is one. So yeah, maybe that's could help for one aspect of the question.
Also, maybe we will try to explain it later on if it's a long one. Plus, Vinyanang Anidasanang, like mind without any disturbance. Is it also related to formless realm?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Right?
And,
yeah. Vinyanang Anidasanang. I think we need to also maybe attainments, neva sanya na sanyayatana, right? Neither perception.
It could be Bhante. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's one of those that people have debated.
Yeah, we
like
need to
Vijnana
really
Chayatana.
actually look into that matter. Bhante is Venerable Sunyo, right?
Yes, that's the name of this monk.
Venerable Sunyo, please read Venerable Sunyo's Vinyanang Anidasanam.
I think his opinion was that it was referring to Vijnana Chayatana.
Vinyanang Chaitanya, yeah.
That was his.
Right, that
Discussion.
is part of the attainments. After the four jhanas, you have even higher attainments. So Vijnana and Chayatana, that is the infinite consciousness that you're focusing on. Yeah. All right, friends, and sorry we didn't have any chance for our live audience today. Maybe we can have monk chat at 5 p.m. So with that we conclude, and please come up with the other questions remaining in another weekly, and we really appreciate all the people who join. A lot of questions, I would say, and so many people also join. Madam Zeroni, Richard, Julie, J. Bowen, and many people joined today. We try to actually Omaria went and Amaranta Arcadia Castillo, I remember that name, and Dawai and Randall Gutierrez. Yeah, all the people. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you also for this wonderful panel. They could, answer any question. And I hope you are not feeling lazy, right? You are not feeling bored. Yeah, and also thank you so much for joining, and looking forward to seeing you again with another monk chat in the coming week, next Friday. So come join us, and until then, from Empty Cloud Monastery, New Jersey, we all the monks saying, may you all be well, happy, healthy, and good night. Sukhi Dikai Koda. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.